As always, before we start our videos, we show you guys the latest testimonials. So question 1, what do reservation signs do? Now, when you are reading the question, you can see the word reservation, right? And you can sort of get an idea from that as to what these signs will do. So let's look at our options. We have option A, will it warn you of hazards ahead? Is it option B, will it inform you of a particular section of the road or parking area that is reserved for a specific type of vehicle only? Or is it option C, it will inform you of a restaurant ahead? So what we can see is from these three options that we have, option B makes the most sense because it ties in with the word reservation, right? Because we can see it will inform you of a particular section of the road or parking area that is reserved for a specific type of vehicle only. Option B is your correct answer. Question 2. What color are reservation signs? Are they blue and white? Are they red and white? Or are they red and yellow? Now the correct answer here will in fact be blue and white. Question 3. What does this sign mean? Now we can see there's a white border, there's a blue background, there's a capital letter P, and we can see a wheelchair, right? A person in a wheelchair. So is it option A, this parking is reserved for vehicles carrying disabled persons only? Is it option B, this area is reserved for police vehicles only? Or is it option C, this parking is reserved for taxis only? Now, because we can see a person in a wheelchair, automatically we will know, okay, it's for disabled persons. Therefore, option A is your correct answer. Question 4. What does this sign mean? Now, again, we can see there's a white border, a blue background, and it is in sort of a rectangular shape. And we can see a capital letter P, but this time it says 60 minutes. So what could that possibly mean? Is it option A, this parking is reserved for emergency vehicles only? Is it option B, this area is reserved for 60 vehicles only? Or is it option C, this parking is reserved for a maximum of 60 minutes? Now obviously because it says 60 minutes here, only option C will tell us that this parking is reserved for a maximum of 60 minutes. Therefore, option C will be the correct answer. Question 5. What is the purpose of limit prohibition signs? Is it option A, it is to warn you of something dangerous? Is it option B, it is to set a specific limit which is allowed on the road? Or is it option C, it is to give more information about parking spots? So A and C don't make any sense, right? Because with option A, it is to warn you of something hazardous. That will be a warning sign, not a limit prohibition sign. And it doesn't tell you anything about parking spots. So the correct answer will be option B. It is to set a specific limit which is allowed on the road. Question 6. What are the general colors of prohibition signs? Now they're asking for the general colors because remember, we get our normal signs and we get your temporary signs, right? So is it option A, red and white? Is it option B, blue and white? Or is it option C, green and white? Now the correct answer will be option A, red and white. Now coming back to why I said general colors, because remember if a sign is a temporary sign, then it will be yellow. You'll have a yellow background. So we're not asking you about the temporary signs, we're just asking you about the general normal sign. Question 7. What does this sign mean? You can see a red border with a white background, and you can see two sort of arrows, right, pointing inwards. We can see it says 2.1 and there's an M there. That M will stand for meters. So is it option A, there is a width limit in this area? Is it option B, there's a height limit in this area? Or is it option C, there's a weight limit in this area? Now this particular sign is talking about the width, right? Because if it's talking about length, it will show you a vehicle that is a side view of the vehicle. So this is talking about width. So the correct answer here will be option A. If your vehicle is wider than 2.1 meters, then it is not allowed in that area, or you won't be able to go into a specific area. Question 8. What does this sign mean? Now here we can see again a red border with a white background. We can see two arrows pointing inwards. We can see 15 meters. But this is a side view of a truck. So what are they talking about in this sign? Are they talking about width? Are they talking about length? Or are they talking about weight? So is it option A, there's a width limit in this area? Is it option B, there's a length limit in this area? Or is it option C, there's a weight limit in this area? Correct answer will indeed be option B. Question 9. What does this sign mean? Now we can see a red border, a white background, and there's a number in the sign, right? We have the number 100. And automatically, if you have watched my previous videos, you should know what this is, right? This is a speed limit, a maximum speed limit. So is it option A, there is a speed limit of 100 kilometers an hour? Is it option B, there is a limit of 100 vehicles in this area? Or is it option C, the minimum speed limit is 100 kilometers an hour? The correct answer will be option A, there is a speed limit of 100 kilometers an hour. Question 10. What does this sign mean? Again, circular sign, red border, white background. However, we can see it says 12T. Now this is referring to 12 tons, right? Is it option A, the minimum speed limit is 12 kilometers an hour? Is it option B, there is a speed limit of 12 kilometers an hour? Or is it option C, there's a weight limit of 12 tons in this area? The correct answer will be option C. Question 11. What is the purpose of command signs? Is it option A, to control parking spaces? Is it option B, to indicate a hazard? Or is it option C, to give a certain instruction? Now think about the word command. What does it mean when you command someone to do something? You're giving them an instruction. Therefore, the correct answer will be option C. Question 12. What does this sign mean? Now we can see there's a white border, a blue background, and the sign is in a circle shape, right? And we can see the capital letter T in that sign. So what does that T stand for? Is it option A, only trucks are allowed on this road? Is it option B, you will have to pay a toll fee on this road? Or is it option C, trucks are not allowed on this road? Now the correct answer will be option B. This T will stand for toll. Question 13. What does the sign mean? Again, we can see a circle shape with a blue background and a white border. However, we can see sort of a headlight, right? This will resemble a headlight, and we can see the rays of light coming out of this headlight. So is it option A? Is it all cars in this lane must have lights? Is it option B? You must switch your lights off when you see the sign? Or is it option C? You must switch on your headlights when you see the sign? Now, the correct answer will indeed be option C. When you see the sign, you will have to switch on your headlights. Question 14. What does the sign mean? Again, circle sign, white border, blue background. And we can see the number 50 in the sign. Now remember, when you see this sign, this is indicating to you the minimum speed limit, right? If there's a red border and a white background, and if this writing is in black, then that will give you the maximum speed limit. So let us look at the options. Option A, only 50 cars are allowed on this road. Is option B, your maximum speed must be 50 kilometers an hour or less? Or is it option C, your minimum speed must be 50 kilometers an hour or more? Now the correct answer here will be option C, your minimum speed must be 50 kilometers an hour or more. Question 15. When should you proceed once you see the sign? Now let's look at the sign. This is a stop sign. However, we can see there's another sort of sign under that, right? This is a rectangular sign with a red background, white border. And we can see there's number 3 in that sign. So this is actually indicating to you the number of stop signs there. This will be the third stop sign. So when should you proceed once you see this third stop sign? Is it option A, you should move off after 3 minutes? Is it option B, you should move off after 3 seconds? Or is it option C, only after all the vehicles that arrived before you at the other 2 stop lines have moved off? Remember, they are talking about the other 2 stop lines, right? So the correct answer here will be option C. Question 16. When should you proceed once you see this sign? Now this is the exact same sign as the previous sign. However, there's no longer a number 3 here. This will be your number 4. And that will mean that this is the 4th stop sign there. So it means there will be 3 other stop signs right in this area. Is it option A? You should move off after 3 minutes. Is it option B? You should move off after 3 seconds. Or is it option C? Only after all the vehicles that arrive before you at the other 3 stop lines have moved off. Correct answer will be option C. Question 17. If you are in an accident, right, an accident in which no one has been injured, how many hours do you have to report it to the police? Now remember, this is exactly from when the accident happens. How many hours do you have from then to report it to the police? Is it within 90 hours? Is it within 24 hours? Or is it within 36 hours? Or is it within 36 hours? Now, the correct option will be within 24 hours. Are you allowed to leave your vehicle unattended with the engine running? Is it option A? No. Option B? Yes. Or is it option C? Only on weekends? The correct answer to this will be option A. You are not allowed to leave a vehicle unattended while the engine is running. Question 19. What are the first 2 things that you should do if you are involved in an accident? Is it option A? Turn your radio off and close your sunroof? Is it option B? Check your mirror and carry on driving? Or is it option C? Immediately stop your vehicle and check if anyone is injured? Now obviously the logical thing to do would be to stop your vehicle and check if anyone is injured. So the correct answer would be option C. Question 20. Are children under 14 years of age exempt from using a seatbelt? Is it option A? Yes. Is it option B? Yes, but only on weekends? Or is it option C? No, no one is exempt from using a seatbelt. Now obviously the correct answer will be option C. No one is exempt from using a seatbelt. Question 21. What type of signs will have a yellow background? Now remember, I've mentioned this in the beginning of this video. So is it option A, precaution signs? Is it option B, hazardous signs? Or is it option C, temporary signs? Correct answer will be option C. Question 22. What do information signs inform you about? Right, read the question carefully. Information signs. Will it inform you about the road layouts ahead? Will it inform you about fishing spots ahead? Or will it inform you about parking spots ahead? The correct answer will be option A, road layouts ahead. Question 23. What should you use to tow a vehicle with defective brakes? So defective brakes means the brakes do not work, right? Is it option A, a tow rope that is shorter than 2.5 meters? Is it option B, a solid tow bar? Or is it option C, a towing chain? Now the correct answer will be option B. Because if you can look at option A and option C, option A would be a tow rope, option B would be a towing chain. If the vehicle that you are towing does not have brakes, when you slow down as the vehicle that is towing the towed vehicle, it's obviously going to bump into you, right? So if you have a solid tow bar, that will prevent the vehicle from bashing into you. Question 24. Which of the following is incorrect? Is it option A, you may use your hooter in emergencies? Is it option B, you may reverse if it is safe to do so? Or is it option C, you may drive along a pavement? So obviously you're not allowed to drive along a pavement. Therefore, option C will be your correct answer. Question 25. What should you do when driving? Is it option A, you should wear sandals? Is it option B, you must keep both hands on the steering wheel? Or is it option C, you must listen to the radio? Obviously, the main and the most important part here would be option B, you must keep both hands on the steering wheel. Now, just as a quick tip to you guys, can you see option A, it will say you should wear sandals when driving. Now, once you write your learner's license test, obviously if you pass, you're going to then start to learn how to drive. And if you are driving a manual vehicle, my tip to you would be to use sandals when you first are learning how to drive a manual vehicle, because if you use a shoe in a nice thin base, then you can actually feel exactly where the biting point is, so you won't switch off as much, right? If you wear a shoe with a very thick base, you won't be able to actually feel where the biting point is, so obviously you're going to switch off quite a few more times than you would if you wear a shoe with a thin base. So that's just my small tip to you guys. Question 26. What does this sign mean? Now we can see this is a triangular shaped sign with a red border and a white background. We can see there's an exclamation mark there, and in the sort of rectangular shaped sign below it, it says potholes. So obviously this is pretty straightforward. Is it option A, there are potholes ahead? Is it option B, there's a police station ahead? Or is it option C, there are speed humps ahead? Correct answer will be option A. Question 27. What does this sign mean? Again, triangular shape with a red border, white background, meaning it's a warning sign. And you can see sort of a lightning bolt with an arrowhead there. Is it option A, there's a race ahead? Is it option B, there's lightning ahead? Or is it option C, there are overhead electric cables ahead? The correct answer here will be option C. Question 28. What does this sign mean? Again, there's a warning sign. However, within this warning sign, we can see there's an elephant there. So what will the sign mean? Is it option A, there are sheep ahead? Is it option B, there are hippos ahead? Or is it option C, there are elephants ahead? Now, obviously, the correct answer here would be option C. Question 29. What does this sign mean? Now we can see another warning sign, but within this warning sign, we can see there's a hippo, right? That image there is a hippo. So is it option A, there are sheep ahead? Is it option B, there are hippos ahead? Or is it option C, there are elephants ahead? Now the correct answer here would be option B. Question 30. What does this sign mean? Now this is another warning sign, and in this warning sign we can see a sheep. So is it option A, there are sheep ahead? Is it option B, there are hippos ahead? Or is it option C, there are elephants ahead? Now the correct answer here would be option A. Question 1. Are you allowed to talk on a cell phone while you are driving? Is it option A, yes, but only if your boss calls you? Is it option B, you are only allowed to talk on a cell phone through a hands-free kit? Or is it option C, yes, but only if you need to cancel a reservation? Now, the rule on our South African roads is that you cannot talk on a cell phone while you are driving, right? No matter if your boss calls you or if you need to cancel a reservation, right? The only time that you're allowed to talk on a cell phone is if you are using a hands-free kit. So the correct option here would be option B. Question 2. What should you do if someone is trying to overtake you? Is it option A, speed up and block them? Is it option B, slam on your brakes? Or is it option C, allow the vehicle to overtake you? Now, the correct option here will be option C, because for option A, you cannot speed up and block them, right? That's going to endanger their lives, and it's also going to endanger your life. And obviously, you are not allowed to slam on your brakes. So the correct option here would be option C. You have to allow the vehicle to overtake you. Question 3. If you are approaching a pedestrian crossing and it is blocked, what should you do? Now, what do they mean when they say it is blocked? They're actually telling you that there are pedestrians on that pedestrian crossing, or there are pedestrians that are about to enter the pedestrian crossing, right? That is what they mean when they say it is blocked. So is it option A, slow down and let the pedestrians cross? Is it option B, continue driving as you have the right of way? Or is it option C, speed up? Now, obviously, if you're approaching a pedestrian crossing and it is blocked, you cannot speed up, right? And you cannot continue driving because you do not have the right of way. The pedestrians have the right of way. So the only correct option here will be option A. You have to slow down and let the pedestrians cross. Question 4. Which of the following is true? Is it option A, you are allowed to have an alcoholic drink after an accident? Is it option B, you are allowed to park by a fire hydrant? Or is it option C, when in use, your indicators should be visible from the front, back, and both sides of your vehicle? Now the correct answer here will be option C, because for option A, you are not allowed to have an alcoholic drink. Remember, if the police do arrive at the scene and they give you a breathalyzer test, then it will come up as you are drunk and you will be arrested. So that's not the correct answer. And it cannot be option B because you are not allowed to park by a fire hydrant. So option C will be your only correct answer. Question 5. What does the sign mean? Now we can see a red triangle with a white background, and we can see there's a traffic light within this sign, right? We can see the red light, the yellow light, and the green light. So what does the sign actually mean? Is it option A, there's a taxi rank ahead? Is it option B, there's a police station ahead? Or is it option C, there's an unexpected traffic light ahead? Now straight away, you can automatically see that the correct answer will be option C. Question 6. What does a sign mean? We can see a circular sign with a red border, white background, and there's a red line going through the sign. Now within the sign, we can see a motor vehicle. So obviously this is prohibiting something, but what is it prohibiting? Is it option A, motor vehicles are not allowed past this point? Is it option B, buses are not allowed ahead? Or is it option C, the minimum speed limit is 100 kilometers an hour? Now, there's nothing here that tells us anything about speed limits, so that cannot be the answer. And they are not speaking about buses either, so option B cannot be your answer. Therefore, option A, motor vehicles are not allowed past this point, will be your correct answer. Question 7. What is the purpose of this sign? Now we can see this is a rectangular shape with a white border and a blue background. We can see there's one slanted line in this sign. So what does the sign actually tell you about? What is the purpose of the sign? Is it option A, to indicate an exit 100 meters ahead? Is it option B, to indicate an exit 200 meters ahead? Or is it option C, to indicate an exit 300 meters ahead? Now each line will represent 100 meters. And because we can see in the sign there's only one line, that will mean that there is an exit 100 meters ahead. So the correct answer will be option A. Question 8. What is the purpose of this sign? Now this is the exact same sign. The only difference is that there are two lines instead of one. And I told you that each line will represent 100 meters, right? So because there are two lines, this will actually indicate that there's an exit 200 meters ahead. So the correct answer to this question will be option B. Question 9. What is the purpose of this sign? Again, it is the exact same sign. Only difference in this sign is that there are three lines. And if there are three lines, it will represent 300 meters, right? So the correct answer will be option C. Question 10. What is the purpose of this sign? So we can see there's a white border, there's a green background, there's a white line going ahead, and there's another red line that is perpendicular to this white line. So what does this sign mean? What is the purpose of this sign? Is it option A, to inform you that the road to the right ends? Is it option B, to inform you that the road to the left ends? Or is it option C, to inform you that the road ahead ends? Now the red will symbolize that the road is ended, right? It is a dead end. That's what this red line will indicate. So if you can see that the red line is at the end of this white line, it means that the road ahead will end. So the correct answer here will be option C. Question 11. What is the purpose of this sign? Now we can see it is exactly the same sign. The only difference here is that the red line, which represents a dead end, will be on the right side, right? So what is the purpose of the sign? Is it option A, to inform you that the road to the right ends? Is it option B, to inform you that the road to the left ends? Or is it option C, to inform you that the road ahead ends? Now the correct answer would be option A, because we can see that the dead end is towards the right hand side. So it will be the road to the right that will end. Question 12. What is the purpose of this sign? Now this is the exact same sign again. The only difference is that the dead end is towards the left hand side. So is it option A, to inform you that the road to the right ends? Is it option B, to inform you that the road to the left ends? Or is it option C, to inform you that the road ahead ends? Now the correct answer here would be option B. Question 13. What is the purpose of this sign? Now this sign, we can see there's sort of a yellow diamond shape there, right? So is it option A, to inform you that there is a traffic light ahead? option B, to inform you that there is construction ahead? Or is it option C, to inform you that you have the right of way at the intersection, right? Now the correct answer here would be option C. This sign will basically indicate to you that you have the right of way at the intersection that you are approaching. Question 14. What does this sign mean? Now we can see again a circular sign, red border, white background, and we can see there's a red line going through. So obviously something will be prohibited. We can see a bus there, and we can see the word tour on top of the bus. So is it option A, a tour bus is not allowed past this sign? Is it option B, a minibus is not allowed past this line? Or is it option C, a midibus is not allowed past the sign? Now since we can see it says tour and there's a bus there, automatically we should know tour buses are not allowed here. So the correct answer will be option A. Question 15. What does this sign mean? Now again, we can see it is a prohibition sign. Within the sign, we can see a tractor. So obviously tractors will be banned, right? So is it option A, no trucks are allowed ahead? Is it option B, no tractor racing ahead? Or is it option C, no tractors or agricultural vehicles are allowed beyond this point? The only correct option here would be option C. Question 1. How far should your vehicle's indicator lights be visible to a person who possesses normal eyesight? Is it option A, 150 meters? Is it option B, 30 meters? Or is it option C, 255 meters? Now in this case, the correct answer will be option B, 30 meters. Question 2. You are not allowed to change lanes unless, is it option A, you can do so without endangering other road users? Is it option B, you have a fast vehicle that can enter a small gap in traffic? Or is it option C, it's the weekend? The answer here would be option A, you can do so without endangering other road users. Question 3. What is the first thing you should do before passing a stationary bus? Is it option A, stop and wait for it to move off? Is it option B, speed up as you want to pass it quickly? Or is it option C, look out for people who are either approaching or leaving the bus? So imagine you are driving up to a bus, right? Before you pass that bus, you have to look out to see if there are people, whether they are approaching the bus or if they are getting off the bus and leaving. Because if you're going to just overtake, you are going to knock someone. So the correct answer for this would be option C. Question 4. In the case of a drawing vehicle and a semi-trailer combined, what is the maximum length that is allowed on our roads? Is it option A, 18.5 meters? Is it option B, 25 meters? Or is it option C, 2.5 meters? Now the correct answer will be 18.5 meters. Now for questions like this, you're going to have to know the details, right? So in this case, you're going to have to know that the maximum length of a drawing vehicle and a semi-trailer combined would be 18.5 meters. It's not like the road sign question section, right? Where you can just look at the sign and try to decipher what your answer is. You're going to have to know the intricate details of questions that come from rules of the road. Question 5. What is the speed limit for vehicles with a GVM greater than 9,000 kilograms? Now GVM stands for gross vehicle mass, and what that is, it's basically the combination of a vehicle and whatever loads are on that vehicle, right? So is it option A, 80 kilometers an hour? Is it option B, 100 kilometers an hour? Or is it option C, 50 kilometers an hour? Now the correct answer here would be option A. Question 6. Which of the following is true? Is it option A, you are not allowed to have a fuel cap on your fuel tank at all? Is it option B, you are allowed to use a cloth as a fuel cap? Or is it option C, your fuel tank must always be fitted with an effective fuel cap? Now with option A, you are required to have a fuel cap on your fuel tank as long as you are driving a vehicle, so that cannot be your answer. And with option B, you are not allowed to use a cloth as a fuel cap, right? You have to have an effective fuel cap. Therefore, the correct answer here would be option C. Question 7. How many windscreen wipers should a light motor vehicle have? Is it option A, 7 in total? Is it option B, a minimum of 3? Or is it option C, at least one windscreen wiper directly in front of you as the driver? Now the correct answer here would be option C, right? You have to have at least one directly in front of you if you are the driver of the vehicle. Now question 8. How many windscreen wipers should a heavy motor vehicle have? Remember the previous question we were talking about a light motor vehicle. So is it option A, 7 in total? Is it option B, a minimum of 3? Or is it option C, at least one windscreen wiper directly in front of you as the driver? Now again, the correct answer for this question would be option C. Question 9. The windscreen of a light motor vehicle should have a visible light transmittance through the windscreen of at least, is it option A, 70%? Is it option B, 20%? Or is it option C, 5%? Now the correct answer to this would be option A, 70%. Question 10. Which of the following vehicles are considered emergency vehicles? Is it option A, a tractor doing freeway maintenance? Is it option B, a school bus? Or is it option C, an ambulance? Now the correct answer to this would be an ambulance. Question 11. What should the number plate on your vehicle correspond with? Is it option A, your wheels? Is it option B, your vehicle's license disc? Or is it option C, the overall aesthetic of your vehicle? Now the correct answer to this question would be option B. The number plate on your vehicle has to correspond with your vehicle's license disc. Question 12. If you are carrying a load on your vehicle, it should not, is it option A, obscure the view of the driver? Is it option B, weigh more than 50 kilograms? Or is it option C, be covered by any plastic sheeting? Now obviously, whether it's covered by plastic sheeting or not, it doesn't matter. Whether it weighs more than 50 kilograms, that also doesn't matter. The main thing that matters is that it must not obscure the view of your driver, right? So the correct answer here would be option A. Question 13. When should your emergency warning triangle be used? Is it option A, if you are parked on the side of the road to have a coffee? Is it option B, when your car breaks down? Or is it option C, if you are visiting your friends? Now obviously, if you're visiting your friends, you're not going to be using your warning triangle. So the answer cannot be option C. The correct answer would be option B. Question 14. If you are turning right to enter another street, but there are pedestrians crossing that street, remember they're talking about the street that you're about to enter, what should you do? Is it option A, hoot at them and make them move? Is it option B, carry on driving as you have the right of way? Or is it option C, stop your vehicle and let them cross the road? Now, the correct answer here would be option C. You have to stop your vehicle and let them cross the road. Question 15. Which of the following vehicles are considered to be abandoned? Is it option A, a car that has parked in a reserved parking? Is it option B, a vehicle parked in a way that will obstruct traffic? Or is it option C, a vehicle parked in your neighbor's yard for 12 hours? Now, you can park your vehicle in your neighbor's yard for 12 hours. It's not going to be considered abandoned. If a car is parked in a reserved parking, obviously it's not going to be considered abandoned. The only time from these three options given that it will be considered abandoned if it is parked in a way that will obstruct traffic. So your correct answer here would be option B. Question 16. Which of the following vehicles are allowed to have adjustable spot lamps? Is it option A, a vehicle driven by a CEO? Is it option B, a vehicle driven by an architect? Or is it option C, a vehicle driven by a breakdown contractor? Correct answer here would be option C. Remember, another type of person that is allowed to have an adjustable spot lamp on their vehicle is a vet, right? A veterinarian. They're also allowed to have adjustable spot lamps on their vehicle. Question 17. A professional driver will be arrested if the concentration of alcohol in his blood is it option A, 0.02 grams per 100 milliliters of blood or more? Is it option B, 0.05 grams per 100 milliliters of blood or more? Or is it option C, 0.07 grams per 100 milliliters of blood or more? Now, because the question is stating it is a professional driver, the correct answer here would be option A, 0.02 grams per 100 milliliters of blood. Now, a lot of you guys get confused when you see this, right? So just remember that if it is a professional driver, the correct answer would be 0.02. If it is a normal driver, then the limit would be 0.05 grams per 100 milliliters of blood or more. Question 18. Are you allowed to park in a disabled parking bay if you as the driver are disabled but the vehicle's occupants are not? Is it option A, no, option B, yes, or option C, only on weekends? Now the correct answer here would be option B. Question 19. Can a vehicle that is engaged in civil protection stop anywhere on a public road provided that they are carrying out their duties? Is it option A, no, option B, yes, option C, only on weekends? And the correct answer here would be option B. Now remember, a vehicle that is being used by a person that is carrying out civil protection duties, their vehicle will have green lights. So if you are asked that in your test, what color lights will they have? It will be green. Question 20. Are you supposed to stop your vehicle if instructed to do so by a person leading pigs and ostriches? Is it option A, no, option B, yes, or option C, only on weekends? Now the correct answer here would be option B, you have to stop your vehicle. Question 1. What is the purpose of this sign? So we can see this is a rectangular sign. There's a white border, a red background, and we can see there's an arrow, a white arrow pointing towards the right hand side. So is it option A, the purpose of the sign is to indicate a parking lot to the right? Is it option B, to indicate a stop sign to the right? Or is it option C, to indicate a one-way carriageway to the right? Now for option A, it cannot be option A because the sign does not tell you anything about a parking lot, right? So we automatically can take out option A. For option B, it says to indicate a stop sign to the right. Again, this says nothing about any stop sign, so option B cannot be your answer. The only possible option that could be correct here would be option C. The purpose of the sign is to indicate a one-way carriageway to the right. Remember, if the arrow is pointing towards the left-hand side, then it will be indicating a one-way carriageway to the left. Question 2. How old does a child have to be in order to use a seatbelt? Is it option A, 3 years of age and older? Is it option B, 2 years of age and older? Or is it option C, 1 year of age and older? Now the correct answer here would be option A, the child has to be 3 years of age and older. Question 3. What is the furthest that a load may project to the front of a heavy motor vehicle? Is it option A, 450 millimeters? Is it option B, 550 millimeters? Or is it option C, 300 millimeters? Now the correct answer here would be option C, 300 millimeters. Now remember, what does this mean? This means that any load that you carry on your vehicle, be it a heavy motor vehicle, cannot be longer than 300 millimeters to the front of the vehicle. Question 4. What is the furthest that a load may project to the back end of a heavy motor vehicle? Now remember, the previous question was talking about a load that is projecting towards the front of the vehicle. This question is talking about a load that is projecting to the back end of a vehicle. So is it option A, 1.8 meters? Is it option B, 180 millimeters? Or is it option C, 290 millimeters? Now the correct answer here would be option A, 1.8 meters. Question 5. What is the purpose of this warning sign? Now let's say the question didn't say that this was a warning sign. How would you know that this is a warning sign? Obviously, we know a triangle-shaped sign will be a warning sign, especially if it has a red border and a white background. Remember, if the background is yellow, it will be a temporary sign. So within the sign, we see there's a black arrow pointing towards the right-hand side, and we can see there's sort of a grid-shaped rectangle in this sign. So is it option A, to warn you of a motor gate to the right of the road? Is it option B, to warn you of a ladder to the right of the road? Or is it option C, to warn you of a broken road to the left. Now automatically we can see option C talks about a broken road to the left. Obviously this arrow is pointing towards the right hand side, so we can take out option C as answer. Option B is also incorrect because this is not a ladder, right? Option B is saying to warn you of a ladder to the right of the road. This is not a ladder. This is a motor gate. Therefore, option A will be correct. The purpose of this warning sign is to warn you of a motor gate to the right of the road. Question 6. What should a heavy motor vehicle always carry when driving on a public road? Is it option A baby seat? Is it option B, at least one emergency warning triangle? Or is it option C, a tire repair kit? Correct option here would be option B. Question 7. What does this sign warn you of? Now we can see again it is a triangle sign with a red border and a white background. And we can see there's an arrow here that is pointing towards the right hand side. So is it option A gentle turn to the right? Is it option B, a driveway to the right? Or is it option C, a sharp turn to the right? So now we can see that this arrow is a very sharp arrow, right? So this means that that turn will be a very sharp turn. So the correct answer here would be option C. The sign will warn you of a sharp turn to the right. Question 8. What should you always do? Is it option A, drive in a safe and rule-abiding manner? Is it option B, drive over 240 kilometers an hour? Or is option C, have at least 3 spare tires? Now, you have to have at least 1 spare tire in your vehicle, so obviously option C cannot be correct. With option B, it says drive over 240 kilometers an hour. You know you cannot drive over 240 kilometers an hour on a public road. Therefore, option B cannot be correct. This leaves us with option A, and that is your correct answer. You should always drive in a safe and rule-abiding manner. Question 9. What does this sign warn you of? Now we can see a warning sign, but within this warning sign, we can see there's a railway crossing and we can see a train. Is it option A railway crossing ahead? Is it option B, a train station ahead? Or is it option C, a truck stop ahead? Correct answer here would be option A railway crossing ahead. Question 10. What is the purpose of this sign? Now we can see this is a rectangular shaped sign, with a red border and a white background. Now we can see there are small red and white squares there. There's an arrow pointing towards the left hand side and it says 3 kilometers, right? Now remember this red and white squares, that's actually a road marking, right? Is it option A, to inform you of a petrol station ahead? Is it option B, to inform you of a racetrack ahead? Or is it option C, it warns you of an arrestor bed ahead? Now the correct answer here would be option C. This sign will warn you of an arrestor bed ahead. Question 11. What should you not do if someone intends to overtake you? Is it option A, speed up? Is it option B, slow down and let them pass? Or is it option C, continue obeying the rules of the road? Now they're asking what you should not do. So for option C, it says continue obeying the rules of the road. You have to always obey the rules of the road, so it cannot be option C. Option B says slow down and let them pass. You have to slow down and let them pass if someone intends on overtaking you, so the answer cannot be option B. The correct answer here would be option A, speed up. Let's just make this clear, because I know some people will get confused. You should not speed up if someone intends on overtaking you, right? Question 12. When can you drive on the right hand side of the road? Is it option A, only on weekends? Is it option B, if you feel like doing so? Or is it option C, if you can do so without obstructing other traffic? The correct answer here would be option C. Question 13. You are not allowed to drive a vehicle on a public road if option A, you are wearing your seatbelt, option B, you are holding a cell phone in either one hand or both hands, or is it option C, if it is a public holiday? Now, obviously you are allowed to use your vehicle on a public holiday, therefore option C will not be the correct answer. And obviously you have to wear your seatbelt at all times, so option A cannot be your answer. The only correct option here would be option B. Question 14. What is the most important rule of the road? Is it option A, always drive on the left-hand side of the road? Is it option B, you must always have a working cell phone on you at all times? Or is it option C, always use your indicators before stopping? Correct answer here would be option A. The most important rule of the road is to always drive on the left-hand side of the road. Question 15. Where would you usually find this sign? Now this is again, it's a warning sign. However, we can see there are falling rocks, right? So where would you find this road sign? Is it option A, on a farm? Is it option B, along the coast? Or is it option C, in a mountainous area? The correct answer here would be option C. Question 16. Which of the following would you use if it is raining outside? Is it option A, the accelerator? Is it option B, the handbrake? Or is it option C, the windscreen wipers? Obviously, you would have to use your windscreen wipers if it's raining. So the correct answer here would be option C. Question 17. If you are driving and a dog suddenly runs across the road, which of the following would you use to try to avoid knocking the dog? Is it option A, the steering wheel? Is it option B, the handbrake? Or is it option C, the accelerator? The correct answer here would be obviously the steering wheel, because you're going to have to try to steer your vehicle away from the dog. Question 18. Which of the following would you use to prevent your parked car from rolling? Is it option A, your steering wheel? Is it option B, the handbrake? Or is it option C, the accelerator? The correct answer here would be your handbrake. So option B. Question 19. Which of the following would you use to look at the vehicle behind you? Is it the rear view mirror? Is it the handbrake? Or is it the brake pedal? Obviously, you have to use your rear view mirror. Therefore, the correct option here would be option A. Question 20. How many pedals does an automatic vehicle have? Is it option A, 3? Is it option B, 2? Or is it option C, 1? Now remember, an automatic vehicle will not have a clutch pedal. Therefore, there will only be 2 pedals. Your answer here would be option B. So which of these 3 signs means that you must yield to oncoming traffic? Is it the first sign? Is it the second sign? Or is it the third sign? Now remember, a triangular shaped sign will warn you of a hazard on the road, or it will warn you about other things, right? Your circular signs will give you more information about the road. For example, your maximum speed limit and stuff like that. So in this case, one of these 3 signs will instruct us to yield to oncoming traffic. And in this case, it will be the first sign, the circular shaped sign with a black arrow pointing towards you and a red arrow pointing towards the other direction will actually instruct you to yield to oncoming traffic. So for this question, which sign prohibits vehicles that are carrying hazardous substances? Is it the first sign? Is it the second sign? Or is it the third sign? Now, when you are asked any question about hazardous substances, right, vehicles that are carrying hazardous substances, you must know that the icon for that will be a truck, the back of the truck. It will have a yellow diamond at the back of that truck. So from these 3 signs here, only the center one will feature that icon. Therefore, the correct answer here would be this sign. Which sign warns of a slippery road ahead? Now we can see these are 3 warning signs, as they're all in the shape of a triangle and they all have red borders. Now the first sign, we can see an image of a horse. The second sign, we can see an image of a car that's losing control. How do we know it's losing control? We can see the tire marks and the car is like off balance. It's not set on the road. And then we can see a third sign with a yellow background, and we can see a construction worker there. So the only correct answer here would be the sign with the icon of a car that is losing control, right? This sign will warn you of a slippery road ahead. Which sign will you find between the left-hand side of an off-ramp and the continuing freeway? Is it the first sign, the second sign, or the third sign? Now, the third sign will actually show you the minimum speed limit within a specific lane. So it cannot be this, right? Remember, if you see a speed limit, which is a number in a circle sign with a blue background and a white border, it is giving you the minimum speed limit. If the border would be red, and the background will be white, then it will give you the maximum speed limit. The sign in the center shows you a dead end to the right hand side, so that also will not be your answer. Your answer will be the sign that's all the way to the left. This sign you will find between the left hand side of an off-ramp and the continuing freeway. Remember, if this white arrow is pointing towards the right hand side, then you will find the sign between the right hand side of an off-ramp and the continuing freeway. As you can see, this is your answer. Which sign warns of temporary road works ahead? Now, how do we know a sign is a temporary sign? It will have a yellow background. Now, what does a temporary sign mean? It means that it's not going to be there forever. If there's construction taking place, you will see that there'll be temporary signs all over. And once that construction is done, those signs will be gone. And the rules that those signs will enforce on the road will be, they won't matter anymore, right? So from these three signs, we can see the first one will have an image of a construction worker. Second one will have an image of rocks falling. And the third one will have another vehicle that is losing control. So in this case, the correct answer will be the sign that is all the way to the left, the image with the construction worker. That will warn you of temporary road works ahead. Which sign warns you that the road ahead ends because of water? Now, automatically, once they say water, you have to look at each sign and see, right, which sign will feature water. And automatically, we can see that the sign in the center will have water in it. As we know, right, these formations will represent water. So the correct answer here would be the image that is in the center, or the road sign that is in the center. Now, which sign warns you that there may be low-flying aircrafts ahead? Now, from the three signs that we have here, you can see that only the third sign will feature an aircraft. The first one will feature a cow, and the second one will feature a horse. So the only correct answer here would be the sign all the way to the right. This sign will warn you that there may be low-flying aircrafts ahead. Now, which sign will warn you of traffic signals ahead? Now, when we're talking about traffic signals, we're talking about your traffic lights. You know, some people call them robots. This is what we're talking about. So your first sign will have a train in it. So obviously that cannot be the answer. And your third sign will show you a road formation. So that also cannot be your answer. The only correct answer here would be the sign in the center. As you can see, there's a traffic light there. And this sign will warn you of traffic lights ahead. Which sign warns you of domestic animals ahead? Now, when we're talking about domestic animals, we're talking about horses, sheep, stuff like that. And from these three signs, we can see only one will feature cattle, and that will be your correct answer. Which sign warns you of a motor gate to the right? Now, let's look at the three different signs that we have here. The sign in the center shows you a road formation, so it's not talking about a motor gate. The sign on the right will also show you a road formation, so that cannot be talking about a motor gate. The only correct option here would be the sign on the left, as that is showing you the direction in which there will be a motor gate. So this is your correct answer. Remember, if the arrow was to the left, it will warn you of a motor gate to the left. So which sign informs you of a pay toll ahead? Now we can see the first sign is indicating to you that abnormal vehicles cannot pass. And the second sign is talking about trucks, right? It's restricting any overtaking for these heavy goods vehicles. So automatically we can see the third sign. It has a blue background and a white border, and it has a capital letter T. And this T is referring to tolls. So obviously the correct answer will be the sign all the way to the right. Which sign prevents you from turning right at an intersection? So when you hear this, look for a sign that has an arrow that is pointing towards the right hand side. And from these three, we can see it is the first sign. Remember, the second sign is talking about trucks, right? It has a length limit. And the third sign is talking about bicycles. So obviously those two cannot be the answer. Our answer will be the sign that is all the way to the left. It is an arrow that is pointing towards the right hand side, and it has a red line that is going through the sign. And this sign will prevent you from turning right at an intersection. So which sign warns you of a dual roadway ending ahead? So again, we can see there are three warning signs. How do we know they are warning signs? They are triangular shaped. And the sign to the left is actually showing you an arrow that is pointing towards the left. So that's not talking about a dual roadway. It's actually the sign in the center that is talking about a dual roadway ending. As you can see, there are two lanes going forward, and the lane from the left will come into the lane in the right, and they will merge and join one roadway. So what this actually means is that the sign will warn you of a dual roadway that will end ahead. Which sign forbids taxis from passing beyond it? Now you would need to look for an icon of a taxi. As we can see, there's only the sign on the right hand side that has a taxi in it. How do we know it's a taxi? We can see it's a light motor vehicle with a sort of a rectangular shaped thing on top, right? And that will be your correct answer. Which sign allows minibuses to drive on this part of the road? Now remember, there are three types of buses you find on the road. There's your minibus, there's a midibus, and there's your regular length buses. How would we know the difference? It's obviously the length on the road sign. So as we can see, the sign on the left features a bus that is in between the two, right? It's not a minibus because we can see it's not small, and it is not a regular length bus because it's not as long, right? So obviously this will fall in between and it will be a midibus. So the correct answer to this question will be the sign that is all the way to the left. Which sign will you find where two roads join your road within a short distance? Is it the first sign, the second sign, or the third sign? Obviously we can strike out the third sign. The third sign is warning you about wild animals that may cross the road. And obviously the second sign is also not your correct answer. It can only be the answer that is on the left hand side, because we can see this long line will be your road, and there's another line coming in from the right hand side, and as you continue going forward, there's another line coming in from the left hand side. Remember, each line will represent a lane on the road. So this is your correct answer. Which sign means that only abnormal vehicles are allowed on this lane? Is it the first sign, the second sign, or the third sign? Remember, if a sign is blue and white, it is allowing something, right? If it's a red sign, right, it has a red border and a red line going through, it's preventing something. So as we can see, this sign on the left features a A and a V, right? V stands for abnormal vehicles. And because it's blue and white, it will mean that only abnormal vehicles are allowed on this lane. Therefore, that is your correct answer. Which sign prohibits hitchhiking for 500 meters from the sign? Remember, from the time you see that sign, 500 meters from that sign, you are not allowed to hitchhike. Is it the first sign, the second sign, or the third sign? Obviously, when people hitchhike, they put out their finger, and the only sign that makes sense here will be the one all the way to the right, as that is indicating hitchhiking, right? That icon represents hitchhiking. So this will be your correct answer. Which sign prohibits goods vehicles from overtaking? Remember the sign in the center, I told you if it has a yellow diamond behind the vehicle, it is a hazardous goods vehicle. But because in the sign on the right, we can see two vehicles next to each other, but we can see a red line going through only one of them, this sign will prohibit goods vehicles from overtaking. Which sign prohibits goods vehicles past this point? Obviously, if you see that sign and you are in a goods vehicle, you cannot go past that point. And the correct answer to this will be the sign that is all the way to the right, as we can see a goods vehicle icon in that sign. And we can see a red line going through. So this will be your correct answer. So the first component that we are looking at today will be the steering wheel. Now, what is the purpose of the steering wheel? Obviously, we know you use the steering wheel to turn your vehicle in any direction, whether it is left or right. I would say the steering wheel is one of the most important controls of the vehicle. And a question that they could ask you in relation to a steering wheel is, which of the following would you use to turn into a driveway on the left? So let us look at the diagram, right? A would be your steering wheel, B would be your gear lever, C would be your clutch pedal, and D would be your accelerator. So is it option A, D? D would be your accelerator, so no. would be option A, which is your steering wheel. That is correct, right? We do use our steering wheel to turn into a driveway on the left. So the correct answer here would be option B, which is component A, which is your steering wheel. So our next control that we are looking at will be your indicator lever. Remember, your indicator is used to warn other road users of your intention to turn. So if you intend on turning left, then you put your left indicator on. And if the other road users see that, then they will know to stay out of your way as you are turning left. So the question that they could ask you in this section would be, which of the following is used to warn other road users of your intention to turn right? Is it control A, your indicator lever? Is it option B, your handbrake? Is it option C, your clutch pedal? Or is it option D, your brake pedal? Obviously, your indicator lever will be the only correct answer, and that is labeled as A. Therefore, the correct answer here would have to include the letter A. And we can see option B has A. Therefore, that is your correct answer. We're now looking at the third component or control, which would be your gear lever. Now remember, your gear lever is used to select gears. So whether you're selecting first gear, second gear, third gear, all the way up to your sixth gear, you have to use your gear lever to do so. So this question is asking, which of the following would you use to change gears from first to second? Is it A, B, C, or D? Now automatically we can see that the gear lever is labeled as C. So our option would have to include the letter C. And we can see option D will have that letter. Therefore, the correct answer here would be option D. We can now see the fourth control of the vehicle, and this will be your clutch pedal. Now, what is your clutch pedal used for? Obviously, your clutch pedal you will find in a manual vehicle, and it will be the pedal all the way to the left-hand side. Now, this clutch pedal will help you in disengaging and engaging a gear, right? Without a clutch pedal, you will not be able to change gears. So the question here asks, which of the following would you use to engage and disengage gears? Is it letter A, which is a steering wheel? Is it letter B, C, or D? Obviously, we said it is a pedal all the way to the left, and that is labeled as B. So we have to look for the option that includes the letter B. And we can see option C has that letter. Therefore, option C would be your correct answer. We're now looking at the fifth control, which would be your brake pedal. Obviously, your brake pedal will slow the vehicle down. And the question asks, which of the following would you use to slow your vehicle down while your car is moving? So is it A, B, C, or D? Now, the brake pedal will be the pedal in the center. Therefore, it is labeled as C. Option D has C. Therefore, option D will be your correct answer. We are now looking at your accelerator, right? Your accelerator is obviously used to increase the speed of your vehicle, and it will be the pedal all the way to the right. So this question is asking, which of the following would you use to increase the speed of your vehicle? So let us look at the three pedals that we are given. Is it B, C, or D? The pedal all the way to the right hand side will be labeled as D. Therefore, the option that has letter D will be correct. We can see that option A has the letter D. Therefore, option A will be the correct answer. We now come to the last control, which is your handbrake. The handbrake has two functions, right? The first function would be to prevent your vehicle from rolling once you have parked and switched the vehicle off. And the second use of a handbrake would be to do an incline takeoff. Remember, once you are done with your learner's license, once you have passed, you will then go on to doing your driver's license. And in the driver's license test within the yard, you will have to do an incline takeoff. Remember, if you roll on that takeoff, then you will fail. So your handbrake is used for preventing a vehicle from rolling while parked and also while doing an incline takeoff. So this question is asking, which of the following would you use to prevent your parked vehicle from rolling? Now let us look at this diagram, and we can see that the handbrake is actually labeled C. So which option has the letter C? We can see option D will have the letter C. Therefore, option D will be your correct answer. Now we get to the questions that I feel are complicated. And the first question is, which of the following controls would you use to make a sharp turn to the right? Now let's think about this for a second. Which of these following controls would you use if you're going to make a sharp turn? Obviously, you would use your steering wheel. Therefore, option A has to be in the answer. You would also have to use your indicator. Therefore, option B would have to be in your answer. You might have to drop a gear or two. Therefore, option C would have to be in your answer. Now, option D, your handbrake. Obviously, you're not going to use your handbrake if you're making a sharp turn to the right. Therefore, your answer should not include option D. Now, option E, you'll have to include option E, which is your clutch pedal, because if you are going to be dropping a gear, you would have to use your clutch pedal to do so. And we can see option F is your brake pedal. And if you're going to make a sharp turn, you would have to slow down. Therefore, that has to be in your answer as well. And then lastly, option G, which is your accelerator, will have to be in your answer because obviously you have to use it to speed up once you have turned. So let us look at our options, and we can see from these four options, right? Option B will have letter D, which is handbrake. So this is wrong. Option C will also have your handbrake in the answer. So this is also wrong. So we can take out option B and option C. Now option D would be your steering wheel, your indicator lever, your clutch, your brake, and your accelerator. But they do not include the gear lever. Therefore, option D is also wrong. The only correct option here would be option A. So as you can see in this question, they have quite a few controls that you have to know. Obviously, you have to know the purpose of each control. And therefore, you can see that this question will test your knowledge on all the controls. Now, our next question asks, which control is used to avoid stalling your vehicle before you come to a complete stop? Now, is it your steering wheel? Is it your gear lever? Is it your handbrake? Or is it your clutch? I mentioned these four letters because these are the four letters that we have been given. And out of these four letters, only the clutch will help us, because remember, your clutch will disengage gear. And if you're going to leave your vehicle in gear and come to a complete stop, your vehicle will stall and it will switch off. So these are the two questions that I feel are complicated. Remember, the vehicle control section will only consist of 8 questions. Therefore, there aren't so many different types of questions that they could ask you. We've come to the end of this video, guys. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you found that this video is useful for you, then please give it a like and subscribe if you want more. To those that will be writing their learner's license test soon, I want to wish you all the best. I know you guys are very nervous at this stage, but don't be. The test is, if you learn enough, right, if you put enough effort into learning, you will ace the test, no doubt about it, right? So all the best to you. See you in the next video. Goodbye.